and welcome to the Bat Cave. I'm your host, BlindBat8719. On today's video, I'm going to be going over my deck that is commanded by Phylath, World Sculptor. But before I do, I would just like to ask that you hit the subscribe button down below to find out whenever I create more videos. Hello and welcome to the Bat Cave. I'm your host, BlindBat8719. On today's video, I'm going to be going over a deck commanded by Phylath, World Sculptor. Phylath, World Sculptor is 4 red and a green for a legendary creature elemental 5/5. And when he enters the battlefield, create 0/1 green plant creature tokens for each basic land you control. And then landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put 4 +1/+1 counters on target plant you control. So one of the themes in this deck is landfall. The other one that I'm working on is also a trample theme, trample tribal theme. So let's go over the mana ramp spells in the deck. Elysian Caryatid. This one's really in here because it's a plant creature, so it's another target for us to put +1/+1 counters on our plant token creature that's not a token created by Phylath. Lotus Cobra, we're playing in Zendikar. This is an incredible ramp spell. We're a landfall deck, so this is something that we'll try to take advantage of the fact that we'll get multiple land drops in a turn. That'll give us extra mana to ramp out more expensive spells sooner than our opponent. Arcane Signet, even though we are a green-based deck and have a lot of mana ramp in that color by itself, for 2 mana, Arcane Signet adding 1 mana of our commander's color is still good. It's basically a must-include, I feel like, for any Brawl deck in the format. Cultivate, this is just another ramp spell. For 3 mana, puts 1 into the battlefield, 1 into our hand. If we haven't played our land that turn, we can play our second land to get 2 landfall triggers in 1 turn. Or even if we've already played our land, putting it into play will give us our second landfall trigger as well as 1 for next turn with the 1 in our hand. Dryad of the Elysian Grove, not so much in this deck for mana fixing. It's more that we can play an additional land every turn. So that's why Dryad's in the deck. I'm not playing Azusa for the most part because I feel like she just dies too easily, which is the major hindrance why I don't usually include her in my landfall decks. So that would explain. If you're wondering why Azusa's not in here, I just feel like she's too fragile for inclusion in the deck. Migration Path. This is a 4-costed ramp spell. Let's look for 2 basic lands, put them into play tapped. So this can give us double triggers on our landfall effects. Also, it ramps us up to 6 on turn 4 to get the Phylath on turn 5. And if we already have a lot of lands later on in the game, we can just spend 2 to cycle to draw a new card. Vastward Surge is very similar to Migration Path in that it's 4 mana to search for 2 basic lands into play tap. But this is different, whereas Migration Path later in the game kind of lets us cycle to try to find an answer or a way to finish our opponent. Vastward Surge is can be a finisher by itself. If we go wide with Phylath, because we already have a lot of basics in play, when we have Vastward Surge in our hand, we can kick it for 8 to give everything +2/+2. So I think that is a way for us, if we have a lot of tokens already in play or a wide board, we can try to go over the top and finish off our opponents that way. Solemn Simulacrum. It's 4 generic mana for a 2/2 that enters the battlefield, gets us a land, so we'll get another landfall trigger for us, and then when he happens to die, we get to draw a card. So, again, for most decks, he's going to want it. You want to include a Solemn Simulacrum in it, just because it's something that, other colors have a harder time ramping. Even the colors that can ramp well, he's still a good body for 4 mana. Basically gets you 2 extra cards. You get a Solemn Simulacrum for 4 mana, gets you 3 cards. You get the body for as a 2/2, you find a basic land out of your deck, and you get to draw a card when he dies. Beanstalk Giant, this is a versatile card in our deck. We can play him early for 3 mana to find our 4th land to keep us moving forward with our land ramp plan. We can also use him to get another landfall trigger later on in the game for 3 mana. Or if we've basically taken out a lot of the lands in our deck, we can just now play him as a creature and get the benefit of the fact that we now have 7+ lands in play to have a very large and difficult creature for our opponents to answer with in combat. Next up are our card advantage spells. I just call it that way. Usually I say withdraw, but sometimes these don't necessarily draw us a card, but they give us card advantage in direct ways. Mazemind Tome I kind of consider as a poor man Sensei's Divining Top. So green and red don't always have the best ways to draw, so I figure I'd give this a try in a few decks. I feel like also since it's colorless, it's easier to cast. Radha, Heart of Keld, she lets us look at the top card of our library and play that card if it's a land, if we still have any land drops left for our turn. So essentially, she's letting us play with the top card of our library, which is an extra card in our hand. She's also useful later on in the game, since we're going to hopefully have a lot of lands. She can act as a mana sink, where if she goes unblocked by our opponent, or if we're able to give her trample later on, she can kill our opponents by getting +X/+S for a number of our lands we control. The minute we get to 12 mana, we could be looking at possibly giving her +24/+24 to finish off our opponent. Elder Gargaroth is in the deck because he has versatile ways of when he attacks and blocks. You can either get a 3/3 green beast token, gain 3 life, or draw a card. More often than not, we're probably going to choose the draw a card option, so that's why he's in the deck. He's just a big thing that tramples, that draws us cards. Vivian's Monstrous Advocate. With her, I find that Vivian lets me, with her -2 ability about being able to search for another creature that costs less than the one we're casting, it lets me use my new favorite combo of casting Morag, Fury of Akum, and searching for a Shia, Soul of the Wild. This will let me then, a Shia will enter the battlefield as a land, Morag will then also enter in as a land, giving us an extra attack step that turn. And then if we play another creature out or play another land, we'll get additional attack steps. Escape to the Wild is a green-red draw spell, essentially. Yes, the cards technically are exiled, but essentially we drew 5 cards. We should be able to play at least one land that turn off of what we got off the Escape to the Wild, and then we have another land hopefully for the following turn. With our deck, with the amount of mana we can generate, we should be able to cast at least one more spell that turn that we cast Escape to the Wild. So it's a way to get us more cards to keep the engine going once we have all our mana in play. Turntimber Symbiosis, it's something I wanted to play a little bit more with. It kind of reminds me of a Summoning Trap from original Zendikar, where it lets us search for a card in our deck and put it into play. There's not many things we get to necessarily cheat off of it, but if we do happen to ramp early enough, say with a Lotus Cobra or some of our ramp spells, we could possibly have this go off on turn 4, I believe. So getting something really expensive out on turn 4, a 6 or a 7 or 8 drop on turn 4 is something we can try to take advantage of with this deck. And worst case, it's another land in the deck. I'm planning this as well as another Modial Face card to supplement our mana base. Currently, I'm only running 22 straight up lands, but because Turntimber and the other Modial card in the deck are also lands, I feel comfortable running 22 because I could always use this if I need to. And the Great Henge, you gain 2 life, you can add 2 mana when you use the ability, but really this is in here to draw us cards. The tokens that Phylath makes will not trigger the Great Henge, but the fact that all of our other creatures will trigger getting a +1/+1 counter, which will also help with our ways of getting trample when we get to the trample enablers part of the deck. The +1/+1 counter will be really helpful in that part, in addition to drawing cards. Now our pinpoint removal. Fire Prophecy deals 3 damage to target creature for 2 mana. It deals with most small creatures that are in the format. And if we happen to play it early enough and we have something in our hand that is just really expensive or otherwise uncastable or not useful at the moment, we can just put that back into the bottom of the deck and draw a new card. So it helps with smoothing out some draws potentially. Ram Through is in the deck because since we are a tribal trample deck, I feel like this is like a must include. So, and with the benefit of this too, it also almost acts as a direct damage spell because the creature that we use that deals the damage, if that creature has trample, and we're trying to, if our creatures don't naturally have trample, we're trying to give everything trample. Any spillage over of the damage dealt to that creature will go to our opponent. So it is a way to, in a green way, deal direct damage to our opponent. Khalni Ambush is the other Modial card that I was talking about, that it can be a land if we need a land, or again, it's just a removal spell to fight a creature, to fight one of my opponent's creatures. Gem Razor with the Godzilla art for this one, Angiosaurus. He's basically in here again. He's Trampler, and then the fact that I can destroy problematic artifacts or enchantment opponent has. is why he's in the deck. Koggle's kind of the same thing. Koggle, when he enters the battlefield, fights one of our creature's opponents, so that hopefully will clear the path for us. And if he survives the fight and is able to attack next turn, he can also destroy problematic artifacts and enchantments our opponent has. Purphoros Intervention. Again, this plays up more the Trample Tribal theme with his first effect about creating an X1 with Trample and Haste. But it's also it's modal because it also can deal damage to a creature or a planeswalker. So depending on what the situation needs, if we have a problematic planeswalker we need to deal with, or a large creature we want, a must-kill creature maybe we want to kill, we can use that mode. If we just want to go to our opponent's life total, we can just make the largest elemental we possibly can and just hit them in the face with that. So now we're going over there's only 2 board wipes I would consider in the deck. Storm's Wrath, deal 4 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. And Thorn Mammoth, yes, he just basically fights things when he comes in, but he also fights whenever another creature comes in. So depending on how things work out, if he can survive enough creatures, we can have him wipe possibly 3 or 4 creatures on our opponent's side over the course of the game. Now I want to go over the cards that kind of help enable the Trample Tribal theme a bit. So we have Hornbash Mentor that puts a trample counter on a non-human creature we control. So he can give something trample, and then for 2 and a green, he gives each creature we control a +1 with trample, a +1/+1 counter. So he pairs really well with Nylea's Forerunner, which gives other creatures trample. So with these 2 out, all of our creatures are going to be getting a +1/+1 counter as a neat on-board trick. Another way we can go about giving things trample is with Pride Malkin. He gives a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and then each creature we control with a +1/+1 counter has trample. So the Great Henge works with Malkin by giving things that come into play after the Great Henge +1/+1. With Pride Malkin out, it'll also give him trample. Another way we also give things trample with +1/+1 counters was Grumgully the Generous. Each other non-human creature you control enters the battle with additional +1/+1 counter on it. So if Grumgully is out and we have them play Phylath, Phylath will become a 6/6, and all those 0/1 tokens actually come in with a counter as well, so they'll become 1/2s. And then the rest here, I guess, are just good stuff for ways we hope to kill our opponent, or ways we can kill our opponent. Kazuul's Fury, this is, I forgot I had this in here. This is another card that, again, is a modal phase card. It can act as a land drop if we need it, but also a way to deal direct damage to our opponent. So if we have a very large plant token, for example, one way we could decidedly win is just to put a lot of counters on one plant token, 4, 8, 12 counters, and then fling it essentially at our opponent and deal them direct damage. That way, if they happen to have either like a large wall of creatures or some things we can't just get through them. Skewed Swarm. This is the card that basically we want to play him out more, or hope we have 6 lands out when we play him, so we create another copy of Skewed Swarm. Works, again, him with Grumgully works because then we're making more tokens that get +1/+1 counters on them. If we're able to mutate onto Skewed Swarm, that is even better because that means we're making, instead of making copies of Skewed Swarm that are 1/1s, we'll make copies of Skewed Swarm with whatever it's actually mutated onto, whether it be if it's the Angora's Armored Killer on him, it will just make him, I'm making 4/4s as every copy as opposed to 1/1s. Lithoform Engine, this card, I like it. It may not be the best fit for the deck. However, I still want to play with it at the moment to try it out a little bit more. My feeling is that we are probably going to have a lot of lands in play at one point, and this is something that when we have a lot of mana, we want to be able to have mana sinks to use it. So if this is out and we have a lot of mana and we're top decking, short of something being a land, we can now use any one of those abilities when we either get another copy of a creature, get 2 spell copies, or again, even if maybe a Phylath, if we cast Phylath and we have extra mana, we can now double up the triggers, either for if we play a landfall trigger, we can double that up, or getting more plant tokens as well. Terror of the Peak, we're going to make a lot of, Terror of the Peak is something that it's a way to, again, deal direct damage to our opponent, or to, excuse me. Sorry about that. Terror of the Peaks is a card that lets us, again, go to our opponent's face or deal damage to their creatures. I think overall it's a very powerful card, and a lot of red decks should probably include him to help act as a finisher for a deck. Shia Soul of the Wild. Again, it makes all of our other non-token creature land, so it lets us trigger our landfall triggers with any normal creatures that we cast. So that's why she's in the deck. Quartzwood Crasher, we're trample tribal, so every time whenever we deal damage to our opponent, we will create it. If that damage was done by a trampling creature, we get to create a token that gets power and toughness equal to the amount of damage dealt. It's only one creature. It's not, we're gonna do a 3 damage, 4 damage, 5 damage, trample damage, and get a 3-drop of 3 power, 4 power, 5 power, 3 tokens. We'd actually get what's the math on that? 8 and 4 is 12. A 12 token. So if we're going to make a really big creature that way, I think Quartzwood Crasher is really good for this deck. Embercleave with Phylath in the deck, and we're able to go wide with the tokens. We'll get a huge discount with the Embercleave in that regard. Again, if we're already pumping up tokens with +1/+1 counter set in packets of 4, we put it on, we do it twice to one thing with an 8/8. With this, makes it a 9/9 double strike trampler, so we're potentially doing 18 damage to our opponent in one shot. Morag, Fury of Akum, gives us extra attack steps. That just seems amazing to me. And whenever the creatures attack, they get +1/+0 for each time they've attacked. So if we can get multiple attacks, that damage, that extra bonus builds up over time. Then Ancient Green Warden, we have again a little bit of the landfall theme in the deck. So if we have our Evolving Wilds or a Fabled Passage in the graveyard, or we happen to discard a land, we can play it back from the graveyard to re-get our landfall triggers. And she also doubles up any of our, like Phylath. If he'll instead of one land, it will double up the effect. So instead of having 1 token plus 4 +1/+1 counters, we can give 2 separate count. We can use that effect twice. Either put 8 on 1 token, or 2 things get 4 of them. So since we have a landfall theme as well, this I felt was a good inclusion into the deck. With the lands, I'm running both castles to deal more damage with Embereth, or maybe ramp out things with Garenbig. Got the dual face red-green land in the deck. A little more fixing with Rugged Highlands, Temple of Abandon. Command Tower, of course, is an auto-include, and multicolored Brawl decks. Evolving Wilds, Fabled Passage, and Field of Ruin are ways of us to get landfall triggers on our opponent's turn. So that's something we can keep in mind if we want to surprise our opponent in combat. Alright, so that is the deck tech for my Phylath World Sculptor deck. Before I get into the arena, I just like to ask that if you like what I've been doing, it would really be helpful if you would subscribe to the channel. And you want to find out whenever I release a new video, just hit the bell icon down below. I'm trying to grow the channel, so any way you can help subscribing to the channel will help me out very much. Liking the video helps as well. And this is just the deck tech portion. If you have any suggestions on how you would build Phylath, I would love to hear them in the comment section down below. Same thing with with the gameplay. If there's any mistakes you saw that I didn't see, or ways you would have played it better, I want to get better as a player. And then also, if you have any comments on how I can improve the channel, how I can sound better, play better, look better, I'm very much open to that. I want to grow the channel and make more interesting content for you, my viewers. Alright, with that being said, let's jump into the arena for some brawls. Hello and welcome. We are playing against Jiva's 907, piling an Omnath Locus of Creation deck. Omnath is a very popular commander. We're going to be seeing a lot of him, I believe. They're going to want to ramp. I actually kind of like this. We can get skewed on 3, then on 4 we can use Vastward Search to get to 6 lands and start making a lot of copies. I'm going to keep this one. We also have Turntimber if we need our 4th land with the Vastward Surge as well. Say hello to our opponent. Forest. Once upon a time. Another card to consider maybe for this deck. It's banned in most of the formats on Arena because of the fact that it's the first spell you cast for free. Alright, so they got a Temple of Alignment out, and I forgot whether they scratched the top or bottom actually. Alright, let's play out the mountain. Pass the turn. Alright, Temple of Triumph on the top. Alright, let's take a little bit of a risk here. It's entirely possible that our Skewed Swarm dies. Which, not ideal, But, you know, it's something that means it gets one removal spell out of their hand. Try the Elysian Grove. Okay. Have the other land. Alright. And we have our Escape to the Wild. Okay. One bug. Cast Vastward Surge. Untick. For a red and a green. So that should give us no attacks. So now next turn we have to decide. They're going to probably play out Omnath and play out 2 lands. Probably get a free spell out of that. Possibly a Escape to the Wild, which would be an amazing play on their part. Valligate Sanctuary. Okay. So, for us right now, Phylath seems like a good idea. With the forest, that means we get more swarms. They don't have enough in the gravy to recast Uro. So, we have Vivian. I could have cast Escape to the Wild, and that would let me get played to 2 lands potentially. Non-tokens. If I play out for 5, that's 3. Can't do much with that. If I play out the land, I could use Turntimber Symbiosis to put another creature into play. I think I want to have a nice blocker there for Omnath, so I'm going to lead off with Phylath. Play out the forest. Target a plant. Alright. And at this point, I think I'm just going to swarm in. Because even if he kills 2 of them, I'll still leaves me with 4 other Scuttle Swarms. So we're just going to try to overwhelm our opponent with Scuttle Swarms. Okay, they gain the life. That is what makes Omnath a little bit tricky. You know, not tricky, difficult to fight against. The fact that he's constantly gaining life and getting multiple land drops makes it very difficult to aim. Oh boy. Yeah, alright, so we might be playing Escape to the Wild to try to get to a targeted removal or a board wipe here. The lane's going to make this much more difficult for us. They're probably going to win with just dealing with their landfall progressing. They don't have enough to activate Radha. Migration Path, it's tempting. Let me think. Alright, so if I play the 5, 1, 2, 3. Alright, I'm going to play Escape to the Wild. Because I can play 2 lands. If I hit 2 lands off of this. I do hit Purphoros Intervention. Purphoros Intervention. Oh wait, we have the land drop. Oopsies, missed that part. 3 life. The game's gonna lag. There's a billion and 1 triggers going off here. As much as I would like the Storms to have to deal with their side, we have way too many things on ours that we would lose in response to all that. That's why I wanted to play out the Scoot Swarm the first time around. Alright, so I probably got a little too greedy right off the bat by swinging with those other plant tokens. I wasn't thinking that part. But we have 44 1/1s. So our opponent needs the board wipe here. But even then, even with the board wipe and life gain, no card deals greatest power, so they drew 4 cards. Radha does not trample, which is helpful. I don't know what they're trying to go for, but yeah, Storm's Wrath. Oh, actually, they're playing white, so they could be going for a Shatter the Skies. I just think he's just trying to go off on the Omnath triggers and try to swing in for damage, actually. But so I'm thinking next turn. I mean, I outnumber them in terms of creatures. I have 44 1/1s. Excuse me. So I could probably just swing in and then see what happens. But I think they're just, I don't know, they're trying to dig for an answer, but they can't actually, I don't think they'll be able to cast anything at this point, even if they get the board wipe. So if they attack, I'm still going to block. So, that's the game. I don't believe there's anything that untaps all the lands in the format. So, I'm just going to swing out. There's no need to really do anything else to our opponent. Alrighty, we got there. Hello and welcome. We are playing against Paca Huerta, piloting a Gadrak the Crown Scourge. So while he's a mono-red commander, I would imagine him mostly focused on artifacts. At least that's how I've built one. This hand, we're going to take a free mulligan. Don't have our colors. This works a little bit better. We had search our 4th land with Beanstalk. We need the Evolving Wild for a green source. So I'm going to keep this. We have a Shy Morag out. The other way they could be building this deck is to focus mostly on just killing our stuff on their turn to create tokens. And let's just search this now for a forest. It doesn't really matter. Alright. And Fire Prophet probably can't kill it 5-4. Okay, alright. Got the mountain. So I think if we do end up using Fire Prophecy, if we have to put something back, kind of hard to decide. Maybe Escape to the Wilds or Nylea's Forerunner. Pantheon. I have a Devotion to Red theme with that. Temple of Abandon. So let's play out Castle Embereth. Beanstalk Giant. Let's see. Let's look for double green. Or at least a green, so we have double green, double red. So we have Temple of Abandon. Nothing else really to cast. Hopefully we draw a 5th land source. We can use Escape to the Wild. They are just going off. Spinning Wheel, Mazemind Tome. Alrighty, that doesn't help us. Alright, Temple of Abandon. I guess they're just setting up the 4 artifacts. We can't cast them. As much as I want to, we can't cast them. And we don't have any 7-drops, I think. We have Thorn Mammoth. If we had Vivian, we could search for it. Scry 1 to the top. There's Enclave, Radiant Fountain. They have 4 mana. I think they're just waiting to get that 4th artifact before they attack. That's a good addition that came out because of Zendikar. So with kicking it and they have 3 indestructible artifacts, they're going to be good for the most part. How do we want to deal with this now? He is a 5/4. They might have some small ways of killing things. I actually think that we have 3 basics. Let me play out Phylath. My thinking being that I get some tokens out. If we get a land, I could play out what's his name? Morag. Play the land, so everything gets one thing will get bigger. Everything gets +1/+1 at least on attacking. Leyline. I have lost this before, so I have to be very careful with him. Green source. Alright. I want Morag. We got 2 red open. Alright. I've had some glitches before with Morag, so let's see how this plays out. Hopefully this plays out well. Crusher Giant, okay. Can't attack or block unless you control. Can't attack. Well, I'm on the trade generals. With that, I feel like unless they have a way of getting bigger creatures, I guess, or not so much bigger creatures, but they have a way of actually basically playing out bigger creatures than my guys. Morag out here, I think, will be able to do a lot of good for us. And with Nalia's Forerunner, I can give these guys trample. The extra damage would spill over, hoping to try to outpressure them at the most part. 3 red, 4 red, 5 red, 6, alright. What are we getting for 7? Keep more aggro. I want to be able to play out Shire real quick. Thundering Stroke. Nope, that's pretty cool actually. Nice. They have to fix this. That should be a nice. Into the tanks. Alright, so 9. We're down to half our life. Alright, so board wipe would be pretty nice. Mazemind Tome, we're gonna get some life back. Vivian definitely, I don't think they actually guarantee we survive another turn. She doesn't, does Shy have reach? I don't think so, yeah. It was Beanstalk Giant. We could spend 5 to maybe get something. So I think we're looking at Vivian right now. We gotta be careful too, if we try to kill the Leyline Tyrant, that could kill us ultimately. Got 2 treasure tokens. Alright. Let's put a creature out with reach. The way the game's playing, it seems like they might have something.
I call, and Decoria answers.
Let's see. With what we have left with Fire Prophecy, if we want to kill anything, put anything back. Crasher's maybe something to put back. The Forerunner, none of those cards really help us right now. Oh, they're just adding red to the pool for the Leyline Tyrants so you don't lose the red. Yes. It's actually a nice use of the Gadric ability. Haven't seen how these guys have built it. I might want to try another stab at Gadrick. Alright, so we're going to block Gadrick. Kind of have to find a way to exile the Leyline Tyrant as opposed to killing it. So, I believe I have Ugin this thing. I already forgot if I had him in here now. Pass the damage. Down to 5. Let's see. We put back Kogla already. Thorn Mammoth. Well, that's a good way to do it. Well, let's have a little fun at least. Let's finish off Gaddick. Let's put back Crusher. Doesn't really matter. Good game. Alright, they got us. That Tyrant actually is a nice addition to the deck that lets them hold on to the red mana so that something like Volcanic Geyser, which is an instant, it lets them have another way of giving, usually a card like this, you want one big turn, and sometimes it's never big enough, but being able to store the red mana till you need it, I think is a good addition to the deck. Hello and welcome. We are playing against the Morlock Warlock, piloting a Nissa of Shadow Bows deck. So this is a new Planeswalker from Zendikar. I'm thinking he'll probably focused on +1/+1 counters with or a reanimation theme. We have 3 lands and not enough round. I'm gonna mulligan this. This is tough. I like having Scoot, but black can easily kill it. I'm gonna mulligan again. This I like a lot better. We'll keep the 6. The ambush I don't think will be as good for us. I'd rather see if we can cheat out a Gargaroth, so play that like that. And wait for our opponent to decide what they're keeping. Playing their land. Hello. Temple of Abandon. We have a Skewed Swarm. Entirely possible that I should have. I'll put it to the bottom. Should have maybe tucked the Elder Garter off for the extra land. But I figured with the Lotus Cobra, we might be able to get there as well. And if they kill the Lotus Cobra, they may not end up killing the Skewed Swarm as much. But it seems like I'm starting to pay for that mistake by not keeping the 4th land. Once upon a time for free. They're looking for a swamp. Skull Prophet, okay. I was going to say Leyline Prowler, but I forgot that it rotated out from Zendikar. So I would assume they're going to play out the Skull Prophet. Okay, we're not really going to fight that as much. Okay. 4 mana does not do much for us. I'm gonna go with Pride Malkin because I'm afraid of Skewed Swarm. I'm afraid Skewed Swarm's just gonna die on us. And that's something that's gonna be a win condition for us. I'm not gonna attack. As much as I would like to take out their mana ramp, we need our Lotus Cobra more than they need their Skull Prophet, so they probably might just trade off, and we are out of luck. So they're not playing Nissa this turn, because if they were, they would have held their land drop till after Nissa was in play. So it's possible they have a 5-drop they want to play. Or they also could have made an honest mistake. They have really nothing in their graveyard. They only have 4 lands, so if they were to cheat anything in, which they can't right now because they already lost the ability to get past this one, Migration Path. Alright, so we definitely cheated something bigger. Oh boy, oh boy. Alright. Swing in the Pride Mulligan. Cheap damage to take in. Huge Swarm. If we manage to get a land drop, I'm playing out a Shaya to then turn everything else into a land. So that would get me, if I get a land that's 5 mana, it gives me a Shaya, and everything, any other creature afterwards becomes a land drop as well. And that actually might give me another copy of Skewed Swarm if it gets that far. Fertilid. They plus her up. Oh, the landfall, they didn't plus her up yet. We'll take the beat from the land. Did he not animate it? Did he plus or forget to choose the animate? Or he played the land afterwards for the 8? I think it's a 6 at this point. No blocks. Alright, waiting on a land here. Alrighty. Man. That's good. Green. Without a Shaya. We should hopefully run that to our pool. Add a green. No attacks. And let's have them try to deal with. Have they milled anything good so far? Demonic Embrace. Too. So they haven't milled anything good. Hoping they're not drawing that well. So with us, they have their own Ashaya. That is nice. They have more land, so that's not cool. So yeah, this thing is. Why is the thing popping up? It should be nice. They're basically playing our deck. It looks like. Now Ashaya does make our non-token things okay. Another oops. Did you forget to attack? Is that what he's saying? So their Ashai gets to be tricky. Multiple attacks doesn't do us any good here. We might want to be able to go wide with Phylath. Leaves me with 2 more things to cast for mana. I can do X equal to. I can actually kill a Shaya? 3, 4, 5, 6. That does kill their Ashaya. Yeah, that's. Alright, so let's do that. Go after their this probably gonna draw the card here, I would say. Oh, they can make the 3/3, I guess. We'll draw the card. Alright, so they're gonna play a land or get a land with Fertilid, I would think, and then I would think use the -5 to bring back the Shaya.
I like animals better than people.
Alright, so they make a 3/3 beast. So maybe put her up to 6. Fertilid. Bring back Shaya. 14.
We will never stand down.
Alright. What can we do here? If Kagla fights, that knocks her down to half. Then I'll lose my guy. I have 6 lands, so I can go on the Skewed Swarm method. Potentially. So if I were to pay for this, lose all of that. Yeah, I know. Some more mana. Probably better mathematically, I think. Rose Cobra, let's add a green. It doesn't have trample, which is helpful. Choose another green. We have 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm a little short, I think, on casting any spells. Next. No attacks. Got Cog and Malachar Rebirth. So he can't bring back Cog, I don't think. Doesn't have enough mana.
Unfortunately for you.
But I think next turn, what we'll probably try to do, we'll try to swing for the win if we can. We have 8 Skewed Swarms. They have 5 creatures. And that may eventually beat up on their battlefield. So this triggers whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. I make a token, I don't get a landfall trigger because tokens aren't
The land
forests.
will devour intruders.
Oh, Ancient Green Warden. Let's see. I have 7 of the tokens. Gives me 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh man, do I have any lands in my graveyard? I only have nothing in my graveyard. So I have 5, so that's 6. It gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This actually might be worth it. I think this is worth it. This is going to double up a lot of my triggers. I'm going to break the game again with Skewed Swarm. Red. Let me cast Morag. Triggers now. So all my tokens may die, but I'm back for more. That is nice. So that kills a Norag. There's 53 triggers on this stack. Dang. Kill Morag? Yeah. Well, there's a gazillion and 1 scoops. So that should hopefully tide us over in the meantime. Let's make it green. Nothing I can do with next. Trigger. Oh. How does that work? I gotta read up on how to really use them because I always mess this up. But at this point, we're just gonna swing out with everybody, and let's draw a card. We're still starving for lands, and this, my friends, is how we might win the game now. Or we'll just play it for a land because we need a land. As far as I understand, again, yeah, so that did work out. So with more I got, they don't get the +1/+0 pump that I was hoping for, but it does do a good number of and just for good measure, and it's like 124? 64 triggers, 64 triggers. 69 triggers, yep. I want to make a joke, something about along the lines of brought to you by Skewed Swarm trigger tokens, token triggers.
I like animals better than people.
Alright, who does Nissa bring back? Cog is my first thought. But that's not enough at this point. If the Massacre Worm, I hope he doesn't have a Massacre Worm. That would be the one thing that would make us cry. I think it's hysterical, but I'd cry. Leyline, Acolyte of Affliction. Eldegar off. Okay. See, I think when I'm building my Nissa deck, I'm thinking some ideas for this. I think Ashaya is good. I think Polychronos. Definitely the Skewed Swarm. Two Swarms and everyone take over the game. Good game. Alrighty. Got there, even with the Mana Screw. And that is the video for today. If you like today's videos, please click the thumbs up icon down below. If you want to get notified of when I release a new video, subscribe and click the bell icon. And please leave a comment on what you thought of the video today, how I could have played better, how would you have built the Phylath deck, any gameplay decisions I made incorrectly or what you would have done differently. I'm also always open to suggestions on how to improve the channel. I'm just starting out. So if there's any advice you could give me on how to make better content, what decks you might want to see, what cards you want to see more of, please let me know down below. And as always, thanks for visiting the Batcave, and have a great day.